So many of the ideas that, we try to push out to the community and principles of playing Galaxy of Heroes efficiently, being able to get yourself access to things like the journey guide events each era, how do you allocate these crystals in order to unlock more, and things like that. They all stem from an underlying principle about how to efficiently play in Galaxy of Heroes, and a key topic of that is getting to the top of Fleet Arena is of vital importance. If you cannot get to the top of Fleet Arena, or at least top 10 or top 5, a lot of the theories, a lot of the practices that you have to do to efficiently do things like get a new journey guide unit, or invest in your mods, or have a better raid roster, they all stem from being good in Fleet. And granted, CG doesn't release a whole lot of ships. I think we had a grand total of 2 last year, in the entire year, and they came out in December, alright? However, those ships are usually quite pivotal, and it's actually changed the importance and the farming order of different fleets in this game, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, is what is an optimal order for farming your fleets, so that you can help get to the top of that Fleet Arena, perform well in TW, and perform well in GAC. Let's do this, baby. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, and welcome back to another Galaxy of Heroes video with me. That's right, I am that bald British man who is embracing stereotypes and drinking tea. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Anyway, so as we were saying, ladies and gentlemen, getting to the top of Fleet Arena is of vital importance, but you can't really just start a brand new account and say, hey, let's go ahead and get a Relic 10 Darth Revan Leviathan setup. Datacron's getting nothing to do with fleets, but relic levels is where I was supposed to be going. Relic levels out the wazoo and just trying to stomp full auto, never drop out of the top 10 sort of scenario. You can't start there. There are too many things that are difficult to farm. However, there are some very, very powerful and easily accessible fleets that we can get with the help of things like Lightspeed tokens, Carbonite Lightspeed tokens, Journey Quest Lightspeed tokens, and all that good business to really get your foot in the door and climbing Fleet Arena on a daily basis to earn juicy, juicy crystal rewards. This is the best place right now until CG yoinks it away from us like they did with the Squad Arena of yore. Getting those 400 crystals a day is of vital importance. You can see how broke I am in crystals right now because, Darth Vader Duel's End kind of sucked me dry. All right, without further ado, let's go check out what I think the order should be right now for Fleet. I'm just going to move my head out of the way so that we can actually see all of the ships, but we are starting off with the Home 1. Home 1 with the introduction of the Rebel B-Wing over here completely transformed this fleet, okay? Absolute full-blown transformation. This thing can dunk on so much. Basically, any early game fleet, you will be able to rip to shreds with the Home 1. The great thing about this right now is that the Home 1, and in particular the B-Wing, which is the star of the show right now, is farmable from the same node. You can get the pilot and the ship from a Cantina battle. This should realistically be on a new farm, a brand new account. This is your first Cantina farm. You just blitz to 6F, which you can do very easily thanks to the ally system. You get a bunch of high-powered ally codes in your account, use their Galactic Legends to blitz through Cantina, get to 6F, farm this until you have maxed out your Drogon and you've maxed out your B-Wing. Now, I highly, highly recommend that you use one of your Lightspeed tokens from the various journey quests, or you grab yourself a Carbonite Lightspeed token, throw that on Drogon, get him up to Gear 12 or get him up to Relics, and then just farm his shards as well as the B-Wing shards really quickly, okay? Super quickly. The rest of the fleet is not the most accessible, but relatively accessible. You have to start the lineup without a proper scoundrel, okay? So you can't be using Han's Millennium Falcon in the starting lineup, but you can get him very early in the game right now, and you can have him on the reinforcement bench. It massively improves the capabilities of this fleet, and it also means that you don't have to worry about farming it later when you go for the profundity. You'll be able to strip this Millennium Falcon out of the Home 1 fleet, throw him with your profundity later when you got it. Raven's Claw, a little bit tricky to farm. It is not easy to get access to this. However, you are able to get the shards once again with Kyle Katarn at the same time. Now, I do recommend, with the Journey Quest guides that we've got currently, there is a Lightspeed token, one for Rebel, which you could theoretically use on Drogon, and one is for Jedi, which you could use on Kyle Katarn. Now, Kyle Katarn can be used on either of those. You could get his shards either way, and he is a farm for Starkiller, and Starkiller is a fantastic legendary unit even to this day. Having the Raven's Claw in the starting lineup is imperative for this fleet, okay? It's one of the more powerful ships that you'll get. It'll let you ignore taunt, it'll let you call assists. It can, like, this fleet is just basic bones so good, okay? So good. Kyle Katarn, like I said, good candidate for a Lightspeed token because he does require Kyrotech and is required for Starkiller. Next up, Ghost. Super easy here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a classic staple starting ship for the game. Not only that, we've got at least one character that is automatically granted to us through given Lightspeed tokens in the Journey Guide. You will get Hera at Relic 0, essentially, including her Zetas. Kanan, unfortunately, isn't on there, but Kanan is a really, really easy farm through Squad Arena or through Cantina battles where you can double up with Ezra Bridger. It's not necessarily a quick, an early game Cantina farm, but you can choose to do that if you want to. All right, and then finally, Zeb is really, really easy to get. I believe he's Galactic War. No, he's Guild Event. Oh, he is Galactic War. Yeah, don't use your Guild Event store. Don't use Get tokens on Zeb. Absolutely get him to the Galactic War store. You don't even necessarily need a lot of gear. He is easy to gear, very easy with the new raid system, okay? And then finally, you'll be able to get your Ghost usually through Galactic War, sometimes appears in Fleet. Really depends. I'm talking shipments now. Really depends, but it's a super easy farm to get done, the Ghost. Finally, Cassian. Not the easiest to get, I will be honest, but the units are useful. These units are very useful to get over time. You will want some of these guys in order to unlock your Profundity, and Cassian's U-Wing's ship is just so powerful. Early on in the game, you won't have to use Cassian's ship. You won't have to use Cassian's ship early on. You can just use other Rebel ships. You could use Biggs if you wanted to. Biggs is actually pretty good in this starting lineup. He does call an assist if the enemy is target locked with his first special. Also provides you with a taunt. You could use the Rebel Y-Wing if you want. Rebel Y-Wing is a pilotless ship over here. It's also a tank, so it's super easy to get, and you don't have to invest in a pilot. Lots of options available to you. I'm just showing you a comp over here that is so good that it can beat triple attacker executor lineups, and that is vitally important. Being able to take out a triple attacker executor lineup is so valuable. I've also thrown down here the Rogue One. Now, you won't use the Rogue One necessarily with the Home One long term. However, just getting this unlocked and maxing out its unique will help you deal with Punishing One. The Punishing One is a linchpin ship within the Executor, and if you've got this in your reinforcements, you can see that over here, whenever while there is another non-capital ship, no, not that one. If the enemy capital ship is Empire, while Rogue One is active or in the reinforcements, non-capital ship enemies are immune to cooldown reduction. So even though you're not getting the breach immunity, because you need Profundity leadership there, you will get this second clause here, which means the enemy's Punishing One cannot reduce its cooldowns and get to that death mark ability. So you don't even need to invest in the pilots. You just need them unlocked, which they're really quick and easy to do. The ship can be as low star as you want. Just max out this unique, and you will shut down a large element of the Punishing One's power, okay? And like I said, grab yourself the Millennium Falcon. It's really easy to get. You can get Han Solo shards using your Mark 1 raid currency very quickly. Chewbacca, right now we are getting Bounty Hunter Lightspeed tokens that will let you unlock Chewbacca incredibly quickly. So the Millennium Falcon, very easy to get. If you've got your Phoenix faction geared up, thanks to most of these Lightspeed tokens, get those ships together, go ahead, take that into the event, get the Han's Millennium Falcon unlocked, and you are going to be absolutely flying. Just throw this in there to supplement. Like I said, this will take out most things and even takes out Executors. So really useful early game farm. Will make you skyrocket through the ranks and early game accessible. We're even getting we're getting a Lightspeed token for Adrad as well. So you won't have to gear your Adrad. You'll have a Lightspeed token to take him straight up to Relic 0. So half the job is already done for you with this fleet, okay? So moving on, after you've gotten your Home One, what's the next fleet? In my opinion, the next fleet is a bit of a no-brainer. It's pushed straight for the Executor, Okay, now it's very important when we're thinking about farming for fleets that you have to be farming ship nodes as quickly as possible. They are never accelerated, they take a long time to farm. With that in mind, key units, the Razor Crest. Okay, you can get this, it is a rare drop within fleet shipments, a very rare drop. So you need to make sure that you have always got Fleet Arena currency available to pick up the Razor Crest whenever you can. The reason I put this one second is because it does take a little bit longer. The Razor Crest will take you a lot longer to farm. I'm talking 4 months plus if you are very diligent. 4 to 6 months. I think I did it 6 months on my alt account. But you will be getting essentially all of the pilots more or less will be given to you with Lightspeed tokens. The Executor's pilot, Piet, he is also essentially being given to you because you can get an Empire Lightspeed token, which you could use on Piet, save yourself a whole bunch of Kyrotech, and take him straight up to Relic 0. Now, the Executor, still to this day, is probably the second or third best fleet in the game. Yes, it gets absolutely trounced these days by the Profundity, and so it should, thanks to the Rogue One. But that doesn't mean it's useless. This thing can still take out Leviathans when you're at 7 stars. And I think it can actually take it out below that. Very, very powerful fleet. You won't necessarily be using this lineup. You'll probably be dropping out Houndstooth, and you'll be going for the typical triple attacker lineup over here, using Xanadu Blood in the starting lineup, and then you probably adjust your reinforcement lineups so that your Houndstooth comes out first, right? But this comp over here, very, very powerful. Does require a little bit higher levels of relic investment, but the most important part to get this fleet unlock is just make sure you are constantly farming your ships. It requires a lot of them. You need to get IG2K, you need to get Houndstooth, you need to get Slave 1, you need to get Xanadu Blood. Punishing 1 is not a requirement for the Executor unlock, however it is a requirement to make this fleet as best as it can be, and this thing will hold you in good stead for a long, long time. Also, the earlier you get the ship unlocked, the better time you have to get it unlocked to 7 stars. You'll only get it at 4 stars when you finish the event for the first time, and then you will have to do this event monthly in order to get it up to 7 stars, and that takes some time unless you are willing to drop crystals to accelerate the star gains over here. This is why I think it's better to go for the home 1 early game. You'll get a very powerful ship that you'll be able to get to 7 stars very quickly and still perform at the top end of your fleet arena. All right, so you've got your home 1, you've got your Executor. Where should you be moving next? This might sound a little bit contentious, but actually, my opinion is you can work on a lot of the Executrix requirements as you are progressing, okay? As you are progressing, you're not just going to be getting these fleets and ships for your home 1 and for your Executor. There's going to be some bleed over here. Getting the TIE Advanced, getting the TIE Bomber, which is a pilotless capital ship, which you will really want because it'll help you take out Profundities very easily. Imperial TIE Fighter is a requirement for the Executor. The only big difference is you really want to be getting the TIE Defender. There's a reason people say that the TIE Defender carries battles. It's because once you get it out from reinforcements, it can do that. It has got masses and masses of damage and is able to control the field very well by stunning units irresistibly if it's come off the bench, but also by generating foresight, which will then generate a whole bunch of turn meter for your capital ship. And realistically speaking, you can use this for the Executrix, or you could choose to use it for the Chimera. I'm not going to do a fleet each for both of them because I don't think it really deserves it. Executrix is the more accessible fleet and is a little bit early game friendly. Now, as you do progress, you will have to unlock other ships, but these are much longer term priorities. For example, the Scythe really does transform this. However, it does require Grand Inquisitor, and the Scythe is not an easy farm to get. You can get it from legend tokens here, from the Ultimate Journey event, so you need Galactic Legends in order to earn these tokens, and you can also earn it through the Proving Grounds at the end of Conquest. The only problem with that, of course, is that you do need to be over 4 million GP, and I'm not sure how that battle goes because I've never had an opportunity to test it. I will soon be able to do that, and hopefully get some video guides out for you guys on my alt account in a couple of weeks or months. Okay, so Scythe is a really great addition to this fleet. Long term though, not short term. And also the TIE IN Interceptor. Now the great thing about these two fleets is we have just got Lightspeed tokens for the Inquisitors in general. doesn't necessarily give you Grand Inquisitor. You'll need to invest a little bit more relic levels in order to unlock him, and it doesn't give you the ships themselves. They're both conquest units, unfortunately, once again. However, these two ships do transform this fleet, so it's good to be in a great position long term in order to skyrocket this fleet's performance. It does so much better with those in game. Now, not only that, Executor uses Tarkin. Tarkin is a requirement for C, I believe. Might be a requirement for something else that I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but also gets used in the current raid Order 66. I still feel like Order 66 is going to be around for at least 6-7 months yet, and he is one of the best units to invest in for that fleet. For that raid, because him at Relic 9 alongside Scorch, 3.6 million, very, very easy. I've got video guides out on how to do that. So I do think an Empire fleet is very worthwhile just because you will get a lot of the bits and bobs from this fleet as you are progressing and building your other fleets. The more fleets you have, the better off you're going to perform long term in GAC. Fleets wins GAC. It's almost never ground. It's almost always fleet. If you can stonewall fleet or if you can outperform in fleet, you're usually going to be in a really, really good standing. And building for these fleets will also give you good units. So what's next? In my opinion, this is where we pivot to one of the best fleets in the game, the Profundity. The reason I choose Profundity here over something like Leviathan is Leviathan has much harder requirements. You need to get Malgus, which is a conquest unit from Proving Grounds. You need to get the Fury class Interceptor, which is another conquest unit. You need to get Darth Revan and Malak and Malgus. You need to get them all up to high relics. It is a bigger farm. The fleet is the best in the game, undoubtedly. However, Profundity is so phenomenally good. Now, you should have already farmed up your Rogue One when we were looking at the Home One because it adds good value. At this point, you probably want to put some more investment into Bodhi and into Pow. They're not great units, but this actual ship, the Rogue One, is very, very good. However, you should already have your Hans Millennium Falcon. Just working on Outrider and the Rebel Y-Wing, you may already have the Rebel Y-Wing from your Home One fleet, and that fleet can still do very well without the use of these ships. The only difference is now you need to get the Outrider. Outrider, fantastic ship, also requires Dash Rendar. Now you can get Dash Rendar through one of your Lightspeed tokens if you want to. He is a Chirotech farm, so it's a worthwhile target for that, but he's also a requirement for Starkiller. Now what can the Profundity do? Well, the Profundity will basically destroy every single fleet in the game. It can even beat Leviathans. Like that's just how good the Profundity is at 7 stars. Does require to be at 7 stars to unlock full capabilities and power, unfortunately, because there's so much tied up into the higher end abilities of this fleet, but it will just destroy everything. Not necessarily a defensive fleet, I would say, but it makes a complete mockery of the Executor, and it can still win against, quite reliably, against non-R10 Leviathans, alright? Adrad, he is a target necessarily for a Lightspeed token. You could use your Rebel Lightspeed token on Adrad, completely skip his grind, and then you'll need things like Cassian and Jyn, but you'll want those anyway for other Rebel ships. A very, very worthwhile farm. Very worthwhile indeed. This thing, probably one of the most efficient ships to be taking out. You can often go in without any reinforcements, and sometimes even short man teams for really high banners in GAC. One of the best fleets in the game, absolutely hands down, and doesn't have the highest requirements in the game in terms of unlocking. After you've got your Profundity, I mean, I suppose this is a little bit contentious. You can start working on your Galactic Republic fleets earlier if you like. However, I think you should be focusing on things like your Home One and your Executor as your priority early farms. If you've got space for other fleets like the Galactic Republic, go ahead and do it. My only problem with this is for the endurance to actually be good, you need the Marauder. And the Marauder, it's not really required for anything else. You've got the Bad Batch over here, and they are requirements for Lord Vader, but Lord Vader really shouldn't be a priority farm for most people in the early game. To unlock these guys, they do require a lot of Chirotech, so they are prime targets for Carbonite Lightspeed tokens, in my opinion. You could get them unlocked and work on your Marauder, but as we said before, it is a slow farm. One drop, they're never accelerated, there's no other way to get the Marauder, it's just a fleet hard node battle, 20 energy a day. This is why I place it low, because even though the Galactic Republic fleets are very good, and you do get Lightspeed tokens for your Jedi Knight Anakin, for example, and for your Snips, so you don't have to worry about gearing those pilots necessarily, you'll be given them essentially at Relic 0. there are some other things that it just takes a little bit longer. You've got a pilotless tank, which is fine. The Marauder, like we said, requires the Bad Batch. So, until you get those Lightspeed tokens coming in a little bit quicker, that's going to be a little bit of a long-term farm. Then you've got things like the Umbaran Starfighter. This one is an easy enough ship farm. You can get it from like Galactic War and Fleet shipments, but it requires 5s. 5s is an easier farm, and you'll want him eventually for your Gas 501st squad because he's a great unit, but it's just not a high priority unit. And then finally you've got Plo. Now Plo, Jedi tank, not particularly powerful, is a Relic 8 requirement for GL Ahsoka Tano, but again, she's not really an early game priority farm. Plo's ship is still really good. You don't need a Relic Plo for this. You can get like a Gear 10 Plo, a Gear 11 Plo, and you will still have this ship operate 90% of its capacity. It's got a really good reinforcement ability that cleanses your fleet, and then you can use your first special to pass a bunch of turn meter, or you can force a taunt onto one of your units and provide it with a little bit of healing. It's a good ship. It is a good fleet. The endurance is very powerful, and it can cause upsets. My only concern with it, like I said, is so dependent on the Marauder being there in order to really perform. Mace is also a Lightspeed token that you get given, so the capital ship is already going to come in pretty good with its power levels. And the endurance, very easy capital ship to get going. Once you've got it up to that 5 stars, 6 stars, it's just a daily event. You'll be done in no time, like 7-8 days, and you'll have this capital ship at 7 stars very quickly. Now, moving on from the endurance, you can take the exact same fleet and just throw it under Negotiator. Now, Negotiator itself, the actual capital ship, a little bit more difficult to actually get the shards. You need to get, I believe it's Get 2 currency in order to max this one out, so it can take some time. It can be a sacrifice of things like Chirotech as you're going through, and it depends on your income in a guild. That's why I kind of pushed this one down. The Negotiator is still a fantastic fleet. Don't get me wrong, it really is. But again, it's hampered by the same hampers of the endurance. You need to get that Marauder up and running, takes a while to farm him up, requires you to divert your resources into Bad Batch, which you wouldn't necessarily do otherwise, and then you need to add on the big Get 2 farm for the Negotiator itself. Still very worthwhile and better than many fleets in the game, just I think you should be focusing on getting your Home One, your Executor, and your Profundity first. The Executrix is almost like an aside. You basically build that fleet for free. After that, it is a prime time to get your Malevolence, realistically speaking. The great thing about the Malevolence, this is one of those fleets that does not need to be 7 stars. You could quite literally just get 4-star Malevolence and benefit off of the summoned Vulture Droids that you get for this fleet. It's got 2 pilotless ships over here in the Hyena Bomber and the Vulture Droid, so you just need to farm those nodes and get them for free. And the Genosians, you're probably going to be farming anyway, thanks to TB. You'll probably want them so you can get your Watch Shards, right, from Geonosis TB. So these are easy fleets to farm, just the Malevolence does kind of slow down. You might want to prioritize this before you get your Negotiator, just to get this one unlocked and then pivot over to the Negotiator, just because it's quite an easy fleet to put together. It can beat a lot of things, it can, and it can cause some upsets on defense. My only issue with the Malevolence is it's not particularly reliable, and the banners are always garbage. Useful to have in your back pocket though. After this, you should be at a point where you can start farming the Leviathan. It is the best ship in the game. It really is. It's the best capital ship in the game at the time of this recording. It will beat everything, and it can do so with really good banner efficiency. The reason I put it so low down is just because you need time. You need time to build up your resources so you can get the 2 Relic 9s that you need for the ship. That means you need to Relic 9 your Darth Revan, and you need to Relic 9 your Malak. They are decent units to take to Relic 9, but it is a heavy investment. You also need to get your Malgus unlocked, which is a Proving Grounds character or a Conquest character, as well as the Fury class Interceptor, another Conquest character. And those farms take a lot of crystals or a lot of time, and usually both. Alright, the rest of the fleet is actually quite easy to put together. You've got the B-28 Extinction Bomber. This thing over here requires the Marauder, I want to say, and then you've got the TIE Dagger, which needs the Sith Fighter. Apart from that, you need the Sith Assassin. These are not particularly great units in the game for ground, but the fleet itself is very good, and then the Sith Empire Trooper for the Mark 6 Interceptor. Like, these ships don't, like, they can work okay with stuff like Executrix, but these days I feel there are better options. But there's no other real benefit until you get the Leviathan. That's when they really, really shine. So I put this one so low down just because the requirements are so high, but you should be building towards it. As soon as you hit that 4 million GP, you need to be focusing on making sure you can beat those proving grounds battles to earn yourself these fleets. Now after this, there are only really 2 fleets left in the game worth farming, and that's the Finalizer and the Radus. The Radus at this point, in my opinion, is more valuable than the Finalizer. They are both requirements at 5 stars for Slacker and Ray respectively. Slacker for Finalizer, Ray for the Radus. But apart from that, they're just kind of last resort fleets. And I mean that in the sense of if you are going to a battle and you're like, well, it's a good job I've got my Radus, something's gone wrong in your fleet game. Okay, something's gone wrong in your fleet game. So I put them so low down just because they're not a priority. They're not a priority unless you are making a push for Ray or for Slacker. All right, so they can beat some stuff. They are quite good at cleanups as well. Both of these are really good at cleanups actually. If you failed against the Leviathan but you've taken out some key units, you can often win with either the Finalizer or the Radus, and that is valuable. But it's more valuable to win the battle in the first battle, if you catch my drift. So I'm not going to place any sort of onus on when you get these. Just do them as you are required for your Galactic Legend farming. All right. That is the order that I would put these fleets in. Fleet remains to be one of the most important game modes in this game, and I hope that gives you a little bit of guidance around what I think you should be doing in terms of getting a good order for fleets. All right. If this video was helpful to you, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because, you know, my voice is hoarse. And I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.